What is a Code Red?
I'll tell you what it is. It's it was a popular soda in like 2001-ish, made by Mountain Dew, and I'm thinking that's probably what Santiago needed because he kept falling behind on runs. So maybe when they're like, get this man a Code Red, they just meant a soda, and instead Dawson and Downey just took it upon themselves just to be like. Welcome to the channel, guys.
And welcome back if you're a loyal subscriber.
And if you're not, make sure you smash the gaffle on that like button. I am Frank Esquire, and this is
JoAnne Esquire. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And we are
legally caffeinated.
What do we do here?
I don't know. We take what you like and what we like. TV shows, movies, commercials, songs, basically anything. And we do what lawyers do best. We ruin it.
Perfect.
We ruin it.
That's what I like to do best in my spare time is critique things, people, speeches, grammar, anything, and pick it apart.
I just like to rain on people's parades. Any parade, really. Yeah. Really, just... If it's raining, I'm happy. So, on this inaugural show, I don't know if I used that right.
This is the first show.
We are breaking down. We're ruining A Few Good Men. Why? Because it's an awesome movie. Until you actually become a lawyer, wouldn't you say, Shu?
Yeah. And then it wasn't until
once you become a lawyer. Yeah.
It wasn't until I became a lawyer that I realized how many mistakes from that movie and how crazy the scenes were and how bad lawyers were.
Do I dare ask you to call your next witness?
I have no further witnesses, Your Honor.
Lawyers are very bad, apart from that movie. But most specifically in that movie, I would say Tom Cruise was probably the worst lawyer that there was. And I like TC, but not in that movie.
This is what a courtroom looks like.
Yeah, he was a terrible lawyer, and the prosecutor, Jack Ross, played by the homegrown hero Kevin Bacon, he was a pretty bad prosecutor.
Yeah, they were just bad all around. I mean, I watched that before law school, and I'm like, this is the type of lawyer I want to be. And then after law school, I'm like, that's not who I want to be. This is nothing like that movie.
I can't even lie, right? I loved them before law school. I loved them during law school. I loved them after law school. I memorized lines from that movie. It wasn't until I got into a courtroom that I realized that it was all movie nonsense.
Yeah, I would say the biggest that comes to mind is whenever they're questioning a witness, they're not questioning a witness, they're just giving closing arguments to the jury.
I would say the worst part is that they just grab evidence and just like hand it to witnesses and show it and talk about it, and they testify about what is in this evidence without authenticating it, have witness testify about it, even letting the opposing counsel know what's in it. So those are the biggest problems that happen.
There's no rules of evidence
at all.
So if you're in law school, one, you probably made a terrible decision, but two, if you're in law school, and you're watching that, that's just not how you handle evidence. They don't, like you said. I think the one scene that comes to mind is they're talking about Tom Cruise, TC, Lieutenant Daniel Kaffee is going up against Colonel Nathan Jessup about Santiago's phone records. He grabs 2 stacks of paper and he's just like, he turns to the jury and he's like, these are phone records, and they show that he didn't call anyone. And then at no point does he, say, Your Honor, I'd like to have this marked as exhibit whatever. Yeah. And at no point does he give it to Kevin Bacon. And nobody besides him even reads it. And yet he's like, these show that he didn't call anyone. Can you explain that?
He asked Colonel Jessup, can he explain why the records show what he says they show without even having Colonel Jessup identify them. Like, here, Colonel Jessup, do you recognize what I just placed in front of you? Colonel Jessup would have said, no, I don't. I don't know what these are. He would have said, okay.
No further questions.
Questions
Boom.
over. That's it. Jack Ross only had to say, objection, Your Honor. There's no authentication for whatever this exhibit is. And the judge would have said, Lieutenant Kaffee, can you authenticate these documents? He would have said no, because he had nobody there to authenticate them. Questions over. Jessup really wouldn't have had to say anything. If Jessup would have kept his mouth shut on the stand, he would have gotten out of there without a problem.
Yeah, and instead, he ends up getting arrested at the end for ordering the code red.
Which I don't really understand why he got arrested for that. That might have been a military, I guess, problem, but it wasn't a crime to order a code red. He probably broke a rule, but he said he ordered a code red. We didn't even know what a code red is. Nobody defined a code red. Nobody asked anybody, what is a code red?
I'll tell you what it is. It's it was a popular soda in like 2001-ish, made by Mountain Dew, and I'm thinking that's probably what Santiago needed, because he kept falling behind on runs. So maybe when they're like, get this man a code red, they just meant a soda, and instead Dawson and Downey just took it upon themselves just to be like, today's not your day.
What was it? Harold W. Dawson. He was the main culprit in this entire scheme, right? I think he set this whole thing up from the beginning.
He's a mastermind. I think
he was the only one who never testified. He fired a shot across the line at his sentry or his mirror, the guy in Cuba. And then Santiago snitches on him, and then Dawson is telling everybody else he's setting this plan out. Don't touch him, leave him alone. Don't give him a code red, leave him alone. But then somehow, when Kendrick allegedly comes to him privately, by himself, nobody else around, tells him, give him a code red, and then Dawson just jumps at the chance to give
he's just like,
guy,
you got it, sir.
He's protecting a code red, and not only does he give him a code red, he stuffs a rag down his throat, wraps him with tape, and I don't know what else he did, beat him down. What did they do to him?
They said they were just going to give him a haircut. That's it.
Here's the thing, like, don't you tell him like why this is happening? If you don't tell him, then does he actually learn the lesson?
Yeah, I mean, they could have just been like, hey, we're here to give you a haircut. He probably would have just obliged, because his hair was getting kind of long. Man, he probably needed one.
Don't snitch on your teammates. Don't go outside the code or your unit. They didn't even tell him what to do. Santiago was a terrible Marine. I think he was called a substandard Marine, right, by Colonel Jessup. Yeah. He says a substandard Marine. You can't just give a substandard Marine a code red without explaining to him why you're giving him the code red. Because if you don't, he won't get the point. He's like, they don't like me. They beat me up. Oh my God, get me out of here.
Yeah. They're not like you went beyond or outside of your unit and reported this fence line shooting. They're just like, yo, we're here. It's haircut day, bro.
They even talked to him. They came at night while he was sleeping, and they just beat him up. I mean, here's the question. Don't Marines like wake up real early in the morning? Like, what time did they give him this code red?
Wasn't it at like 1 a.m.? Because it was like at 3 a.m. the doctor said it was poison. So didn't he had to die or something like that?
They waited till everybody was asleep, and then they gave him the code red. Okay.
Yeah.
They got that part right.
Yeah, that was about the only part that they got right in the whole movie. I mean, there's just, name the ways we could probably tear the movie apart.
Downey comes and says he gave a code red. However, Downey only knows about a code red because Dawson alleges that Kendrick came and told him, like, hey, bro, we gotta give Santiago a code red.
Yeah. Well, that takes me to the next theory. I think that Kendrick, Kiefer Sutherland's character, I think that he was set up. I don't think he really did give the code red.
I agree. I agree.
I think Colonel Markinson gave the code red, and that's why he ended up offing himself. I think Colonel Markinson was, Jessup's right-hand man, and that's why he felt so guilty. I think Kendrick legit was like, don't touch him, and that was it. And you know what, they say that Kendrick gave the order, but the only person that he gave the order to was Dawson, and Dawson never testified. Downey testified that Kendrick gave it, but then they subsequently learned that Downey wasn't even in the room.
Yeah, Downey would never be able to testify to that. That's like, is that like a Bruton issue? You can't testify against your co-defendant. You can't. You can't say like my co-defendant told me he gave me a code red. That's
right?
objectionable. That doesn't come in.
They had separate attorneys.
And that's another reason why Kaffee was terrible, and so was Galloway. How do you prep these guys for all you have to do is prep them for their testimony. You're just getting them. They actually showed them prepping Downey. How do you not know he never actually heard Kendrick give the code red?
Yeah, and you know what? That just dawned on me. They really did have Downey flip on Dawson, their co-defendants. You know?
Yeah, so I never heard it.
Yeah, he told me, and then that's just terrible. But they never had Downey affirm that or testify as to who gave him the code red. So
Downey was never even. He wasn't there. He had to double time it back with his guy because the car caught a flat, and he was never even in the room. Like Kaffee, then Galloway, after he starts testifying, objection, Your Honor, we need a recess. What?
Yeah, yeah. It's like recess for what?
She said the witness has rights. What's his right? He was read his rights. That's what Jack Ross said. The witness has been read his rights.
Yeah, it's like, wait, what rights did she think that the witness had?
He has a right to get a story together.
Yeah, like at that point he had already been arrested, charged. He's on trial. What rights? He was caught in a lie. He has a right to. He has a right to try to get out of this lie he told.
He had a right not to testify. You put him on the stand, right? He already made the decision to testify.
Yeah.
So he had his rights, and he's testifying now. And now, for the first time, you're realizing he never was there. This was a time for Weinberg, what was his name? Weinstein?
Weinberg?
Yeah.
Lieutenant Weinberg. Yeah.
This was a time for Lieutenant Weinberg to be upset, right? Now he should be upset.
Maybe that's why at the end when Jack Nicholson is going off about Lieutenant Kaffee, we stand on a wall. Who's going to do it? You, Lieutenant Weinberg. And Lieutenant Weinberg's like, what? I'm playing Sudoku, man. I'm not even a part of this. I've questioned no witnesses. I'm just sitting here.
He's like, man, like all I'm doing is making sure he has Dramamine for getting on the plane. That's all I do. I don't worry about anything else. And I criticize Galloway. That's it.
Yeah, that is it. That's all he really does. But yeah, she was terrible. My question too, though, is why did they have Downey testify first? Like Dawson didn't testify at all, but Downey already proved to be, not the sharpest tool in the shed. Why wouldn't they have just had Dawson testify?
Dawson was the guy who, he would actually present well. He speaks very forthright. He's very confident. Downey was very weak. It was no reason for him to testify at all. Actually, why do you want both of them to testify?
Yeah,
it made no sense.
At that point, you only needed one. And why wouldn't you have the Marine who actually had like a stellar track record testify? Then the Marine
who actually disobeyed a previous order in order to help somebody, got in trouble for it, and now he can testify about why he listened this time. Why he gave the code red.
The Marine who told everybody else don't touch Santiago. Why wouldn't you have had him testify? It's the worst. Man, the more we break this up.
Here's another issue I had with the case, right? One thing as a prosecutor, the hardest thing as a prosecutor is when you put on a witness and you have to ask open-ended questions, right? You have to be very strategic about asking questions so that you get the information you want. But you can't lead your witness. So it makes it more difficult. The great thing about being a defense attorney is you're usually crossing witnesses and you can lead them to where you want them to go and kind of control the narrative. In this case, every witness that Kaffee called, which is Tom Cruise, every witness he called, he led. Which he couldn't do. He led he never asked any any direct questions.
No, he's like, didn't he order the code red? Boom. He ordered the code red, correct? Yeah.
Objection, Your Honor.
Yeah.
He's leading.
Yeah.
That would have ended it.
One of the many things. It was just it was terrible. The more and more I look at it, it's just from a legal
You don't understand how
perspective.
Kaffee got that great reputation for being such a great lawyer. One, he had no experience. All he did was make his clients take bad plea deals in order to get out of court.
All his cases should have been reviewed. I mean, he had a guy who sold a dime bag of oregano. He had that guy take a deal. When it's like, what is going on?
Instead of saying like, "Hey, I'm going to fight the fact that you've been charged this case because the guy had oregano," he's saying like, "Hey, this case is going to get dismissed. So before you go into court and get embarrassed, let's make a deal."
Yeah, and he's terrible. I mean, he's next to JoAnne Galloway. I mean, he's a terrible attorney. I don't know. I mean, at some point during the trial, the judge should have pulled Kaffee aside, sidebar, and been like, "Yo, you're really setting up an appeal for ineffective assistance of counsel, dude." Like,
I think the judge probably would have called them all in the back and said, like, "Sam, why are you here? Your job, Mr. Weinberg, is to make sure he's not making these mistakes. Lieutenant Galloway, Commander Galloway, what's happening? You guys are supposed to be the senior attorneys."
You're strenuously objecting. You know what another part is when Galloway strenuously objects to the doctor testifying.
I strenuously object. Is that how it works? Objection. Overruled. No. No, I strenuously object. Oh, wow. Strenuously object, and I should take some time to reconsider.
The expert for the prosecution, and she's like, "I strenuously object." And even Weinberg, you had the judge saying he was an expert. Well, the judge already told the jury before this guy even testified, this is an expert, right? So it's like, right? Like,
yes,
he was already. That's what they do. That's what they do if you're new to the law. If you have an expert testify, you have to do voir dire. You have to have him admitted as an expert to testify. So he would have already been admitted as an expert. So having the judge say he's an expert, it's like, well, yeah, no, duh. They already admitted him to.
That's not the problem, Sam. The problem is not that the judge said he was an expert, because the judge already told the jury that. The problem is you objecting to an expert's opinion. It just seems stupid to say, Your Honor, we want the doctor's opinion stricken from the record. Why?
Yeah. I mean, she didn't even say like cause for speculation. She didn't. I mean, she could have said lack of foundation. Because I mean, really,
why was she objecting? That wasn't her witness.
And also, why was she objecting? They already knew what this guy was going to say, right? He was going to say the lactic acid buildup and the rag or poison. They were going to say that because they already knew he was going to say it was poison because they were prepared to cross him on that opinion. So why then when he says it's poison be like, we object, and not even say the basis for your objection?
Because I honestly think that and Sam Weinberg for some reason called their cross-examination a bunch of fancy lawyer tricks. Maybe said it makes it look like it. But I think Kaffee did a good job of cross-examining the doctor, right? He showed that you had a bias and you had a reason for saying it's poison because he probably had underlying issues and you gave him a clean bill of health. So if he died because of that, I mean, the way he did it was he gave a closing argument again like he always did. But he made a good point on his cross-examination. And after he does that and sits down, she jumps up and says, Your Honor, we want all that stricken.
Well, he jumped up first and was like, Your Honor, objection. He is an internist. He's not a criminologist. What is that?
Exactly.
What? But, like, what's the evidentiary objection? You're just telling me what he is. What do you mean? That he's outside of his opinion? He's still a doctor.
And it's too late for that, right? And like you said, if you want to get into that, do it on cross. And he didn't. He never asked that question.
You should have done that on voir dire. Like, you're not a criminologist. I object to the admission of him testifying as an expert. Right?
Yeah. Or just get it out there. Like, you're not you're an internist, right? You're not a criminologist. Do you know what an internist is? What's the difference between an internist and a criminologist, Dr. Stone? He didn't do any of that.
Or like, what were you doing within the 3 hours at the time that you said you didn't know cause of death to when, you said that you did?
I think that would have been the most important part of that cross-examination. Doctor, at 1 o'clock, didn't you say you didn't know what caused his death? Yes. And then at 3 o'clock, you knew what caused his death, right? Yes. In between that time, you met with the colonel, right? Yeah. Yes. Really, that's all you got to do. All you're trying to get is reasonable doubt. You're trying to get reasonable doubt. That's all you want. Okay. Yeah. Your Honor, no further questions. And then you argue later on to the jury why the doctor can't be trusted. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, that's all you really need to do. I mean, that's just one of the gaffes in in the movie. Aside from the fact that Markinson ended up killing himself with a gun that he was allowed to apparently have, even though he was held up in a hotel with U.S. Marshals outside his door. So
yeah, Markinson's his whole story was really crazy in that movie.
Yeah, his whole story is pretty crazy. He just he's so upset because Willie got the code red and died, but then instead of testifying to help these people get off, he's like, nope, boom, I'm done.
What's crazier is he's gone. He does counterintelligence. Nobody's gonna find him. He's in the wind. Everybody's forgot about Markinson. Markinson, I guess, feels bad or he wants some more attention. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna come back. Hey, Kaffee, you left your door unlocked. I'm in your back seat at night, and I'm saying, hey, Jessup, he ordered the code red. He doctored the logbooks. He coerced the doctor. He gives all the information, and then he says, you're not still thinking about putting me on the stand, are you? Of course we are. I have you in a hotel room.
Yeah. You think I'm just putting you up for free? I mean,
I have marshals guarding you.
Yeah, one of the questions, though, he gets in the back of Kaffee's car while Kaffee's at the newspaper stand. Where was Markinson's car? Like, did he... Because Kaffee drives away, pulls in an alley, but, like, where was Markinson's car? Like, where was his clothes, his bags, anything? Like, how did he... Like, how long had he been following Kaffee?
That's the thing. Markinson was in Cuba. He left Cuba under secrecy, came and found Kaffee, followed him around until the right time, and then jumped in the backseat of his car just to tell him what was going on. But was his plan all along to help Kaffee, or was he following the trial somehow from afar? And then when he realized things weren't going well, he said, you know what, I can't live with this. I got to tell this guy what's really going on. And then Kaffee told him, I'm putting you on the stand. I'm going to put you in a hotel. I'm going to give you marshals to guard you. You're going to testify. So why Markinson was so surprised about being called to the stand and so afraid to testify. I mean, what was he so afraid about?
And by the way, here's your nickel-plated loaded pistol
exactly.
for court, because in court you got to carry your pistol. So
gotta be fully dressed.
Fully dressed. Last time I checked, they don't allow pistols in court. But here's your gun. Don't do anything stupid, and that's it. You
can trust you, right? You're very very put together.
You're mentally
right now.
Sound right now.
You're good to go, Lieutenant Colonel Markinson.
Yeah. So that was just one of the other gaffes of that movie, but the more I watch it, they just pile up. But I think Markinson was the real culprit. I think there needs to be some sort of like mini series about Markinson, what he did in counterintelligence, and the fact that he was the one that ordered the code red, and I think they need to explore that a little bit more.
So like, what really happened after Lieutenant Kendrick left that meeting?
Yeah.
When it was only Jessup and Markinson. Did Jessup ask Mark, like, what's your opinion? Should we give him a code red or should we not give him a code red? And Markinson's like, let's give him a code red. Let's do it.
Yeah, code red time. Yeah, code red time. One of the things, too, is they don't really connect. Like, Jessup and Markinson were left talking. Kendrick leaves. When does Jessup go back and talk to Kendrick and say, hey, give him a code red? So that's why they didn't... That's why I think Markinson was guilty the whole time.
Jessup does tell Kendrick that to meet him for lunch at this, like, what sounds like a special club, right?
Oh, did?
They said it says we'll discuss the training of young, Santiago, right? Young Willie, right? We'll discuss the training of him, right? So they make it seem like Jessup went directly at that lunch and told Kendrick to give him the code red, right? But it's weird that it takes that much, right? Because it's a code red. You do it often. It's basically training. It's basically beating somebody up, teaching somebody a lesson, right? Get back in line, man. You're making us all look bad. We're one team. Yeah. Get your act together. So why does Jessup have to go and talk to him privately, right? You didn't. But they told Dawson and
you didn't plan to get caught.
Yeah, you didn't plan to kill him, right? It's a training. You didn't plan to die. They didn't shoot him.
Why'd you take all these like precautionary steps? Like, if it was a normal routine code reds, you would have been like, hey, give them a code red, that's it. But instead it's like, hey, you need to give them a code red, but you also need to go to every person in the unit and tell them not to give them a code red to make them think that we told you not to when we actually told you to do it. And by the way, choose the guy who he had the fence line shooting with. Like, they put, like, this was a mastermind.
But here's the key, right? Why would Kendrick choose Dawson when prior Dawson didn't follow orders and gave food to another guy that they gave a code red to, right? They gave a code red to that guy, Bell, right? To that
Curtis Bell incident.
Yeah, Curtis Bell. They gave a code red to Curtis Bell. Basically, he locked him in his barracks and he only had vitamins and supplements, no food. So Dawson sneaks food to him in violation of a direct order. He broke a law. He broke a law, basically, is what Kendrick said.
Yeah.
So Kendrick picks the same guy again to give a code red?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he really kind of set himself up then by picking the guy that he, one, knew would break the law, or go against the orders to do the right thing. But two, also because that's who Santiago had reported or ratted on for the fence line shooting. So
it made no sense.
It's like, it made no sense. They would have picked somebody else, but they picked him. And why? I mean, Dawson obeyed a direct order to give a hungry guy some food, right?
Exactly.
Right? And yet everybody said that even though they wanted to give Willie a code red, nobody ever did because Dawson wouldn't allow it.
Yeah.
But yet, as soon as Kendrick's like, give him a code red, Dawson's like, sure, let's do it. Like, why didn't he obey that order? You know?
I don't understand. Why did Dawson go ahead and give him a code red, especially one like that? I mean, I would think if Dawson was going to, there's not going to be proof of a code red, right? Kendrick would never know whether Dawson actually gave the code red or not, right? You're shaving his head. He could have went in there and said, look, I was told to give a code red by our lieutenant. I don't want to
get your hair cut in the morning. Yeah,
get your ish together. I'm going to cut your hair right now. You're going to get it together. Because if you don't get it together, they're going to send somebody else who will give you a code red.
Yeah, why? Like, if that was the code red that was specified, it's a haircut code red. Why didn't they just wake up and be like, hey, Willie, you're falling behind the runs. We were told to give you a code red. We got to cut your hair. I mean, like, his hair was getting long. Why didn't he just like get up, throw the cape on, like give him a haircut, and then be like, all right, tomorrow when you see Kendrick, you know, he'll know we followed orders.
Look really somber, look really sad. Shake your head like, man, those guys.
I can't believe they
was
did
my
it.
friend.
Yeah, tell him, act sad like you were trying to grow your hair out, you know. Like,
Billy Santiago's a liar. He told a lie when he wrote that letter. He said that he fell back on a run and the drill sergeant knocked him to the ground. That wasn't true. He was behind. The drill sergeant kind of like pushed him, and he just fell down the hill. He didn't get pushed down the hill. He didn't push him to the ground. He kind of
he flopped.
He just fell.
He flopped. You know what? Yeah, maybe alternative theory, you know, maybe Willie Santiago faked his own death. Colonel Marcuson snuck him out of Cuba, you know? I mean,
they never called anybody to talk about the body. Like, did anybody identify the body? Did anybody actually know that it was Willie Santiago who died?
Yeah.
Dawson's yo, bro, I didn't even give him real code red. We wrapped him up. We stuck the thing down his mouth. We were going to carry him around the room saying, hey, ho, get it together. Throw him in the bed, take it off and say, you're done, man. This is your code red. You got to get your act together. Maybe Dawson didn't really do anything that bad to him.
You know, if someone came in to give me a haircut, I would just allow it. I mean, I would be like, yo, cool. Like, I have the meaning to get to the haircuttery or supercuts, you know, but go ahead, you know. Just take a little off the sides.
Just give me a nice shape up, guys. Don't go too far. Catch my mustache over here.
Yeah. Man, I mean, it's just another terrible gaffe in there. I guess you're just not supposed to question anything about it, you know.
I want to go back to the witnesses that Kaffee put up, right? His whole case is basically built around the fact that Kendricks and Jessup, they ordered this whole thing. It wasn't, his clients didn't act out of their own volition. They were given the order. They had to follow it. They had no choice. Now, Kaffee did a good job with Kendricks, but if he had to follow the rules of evidence, how does he get any of that evidence out? Like the whole thing about Curtis Bell incident, Kendrick never testified about that. What happened with Curtis Bell? This was he told him everything. I mean, Kaffee, he led on every question. So without the leading questions, and if Jack Ross would have just objected maybe once, like Your Honor, objection to leading, he would have been stopped. That information about Curtis Bell never gets out there. Dawson would have had to testify to it.
Yeah, how would the Curtis Bell get in anyway? Because how is that relevant to what they did to Willie Santiago? I mean, if anything, it refutes Kaffee's argument. Kaffee's argument was that they had to follow orders, right? And they followed orders. And yet, he brings in evidence that Dawson didn't follow orders, right? So
see, I thought that argument was pretty good because it showed that Dawson is a good guy. And when he exercised his own moral compass to help somebody in a situation he thought that they were in trouble, like Curtis Bell not getting food, he was punished and he got a bad report from Kendricks because of it. So I think his point was good. He was like, he learned his lesson. He wasn't going to disobey you again. But the way the movie brought that information out, instead of bringing it out through either Dawson or through a report that Kendricks was shown, authenticated, and questioned about, they had Kaffee just testify to everything through his leading questions. If Kendricks said, nope, that didn't happen, what did Kaffee have to prove that it did?
Nothing. He didn't call any other witnesses to talk about it. He was just like, you gave him a subpar rating or something, and then he brings up, he's just reading his personnel file. And that's like it. Yeah,
he didn't even have that authenticated. He just say like, here, do you recognize this? Yes. What is that? This is a report I wrote about Mr. Dawson over there. Okay. Your Honor, this is going to be exhibit number 1. All right, now
can you read us that report? Tell
exactly.
Us what it says.
He did
Instead,
none of
he's
that.
just like, I'm looking at my file here, and nobody else can see what's in it. There's just stick figure drawings in it.
Do you remember why he gave a bad rating? I'm sure I do not. Like, okay, there's the end. There's no other information.
Yeah, case closed. I have no further questions. That's like, when Jack Nicholson at the end, when he's berating him, and he's like, did you order the code red? And Jack Nicholson, the judge, is like, you don't have to answer that. And he's like, I'll answer it. And
you don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question.
You're like, no, he objected. I sustained it. You don't answer that.
You can't answer it. There's no question anymore to answer. And
Jack Ross in contempt. Yeah.
Jack Ross should have jumped up like, no, objection, Your Honor. Yeah, don't answer that, Colonel. You're good. You don't have to answer the question.
Yeah, and if he refuses to listen to the judge, then Colonel Jessup's in contempt, right? I mean,
Colonel Jessup sounded like the Joker, right? But on that part, he was acting like the Joker because no colonel of his rank would have put himself in that much trouble by saying, I not only ordered the code red, I made everybody lie about the order. I doctored information. I coerced the doctor. I did all that stuff you said. Right, so I'm going to ruin my whole career now. So he was acting like joking, just crazy, like career gone.
Yeah, and everybody else, like Kendrick's, like, yo, why is this guy? He just told you didn't have to answer that, you know.
Kendrick's sitting in the gallery, like, what are you doing right now, Colonel?
Yeah, the doctor is like,
this didn't happen.
I mean, at that point, that's when it should have been over, you know.
Because the doctor, Kendrick's, Jessup, they all got together. And they said, now who's going to mess us up? Markinson already left. So we know he's out of it. Now, they're all probably looking at the doctor like, doctor, you can't mess up. Kendricks is good. He's solid. So doctor's only you. Dr. Stone's saying, look, I'm not going to say anything. My whole career's on the line here. And you're the colonel. You're going to protect me. So they're all thinking they're good. Everybody testified. Kendricks outright says it. I didn't order the code red. He was straight. Jessup gets up there, and he's manipulated with footlockers and phone calls to give everything up.
How do they even get what Jessup said in? Because what Jessup said would be hearsay.
Which part?
Even if he said, I ordered the code red, right? It's an out-of-court statement, and they're offering it for the truth of what's asserted, right? And he's not an opponent, so it's not a party opponent admission. So how do they even get his statement, what he said in? Like, did you order the code red? Objection, hearsay, boom, case over. You know, like, you lose.
What's even crazier is he never told him did you order the code red? Yes. But who did he order? Who did he tell him to get the code red? Like, what was the order? First of all, what was the order? Second of all, what is a code red? Like, there's so there's so much stuff lost in that whole thing.
You know, and like Dawson and Downey, they could testify as to what Jessup or what was told to them, because it wouldn't be hearsay, because it would be not offered for the truth, but offered to explain the effects it had on the listener. Yeah. But if you're asking Jessup himself, did you order it? That's an out of court statement. Boom, hearsay, done, case on, case over. You're a terrible lawyer, ineffective assistance at counsel. Get out of here. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, you're right. Dawson would say they ordered me to do this. That's why I went and did it. Right? He told me to give a code red. That's why I went and gave him a code red. I don't know. I think that would have been the best. Dawson would have been the entire case. You put Dawson up. I think, honestly, I would have probably put Dawson up first. I don't know. I think
just leave it at Dawson, right? Put
Dawson up first. Yeah, I wouldn't put Downey up at all. Downey just sits there and listens. You don't put Downey up. You put Dawson up and tell everything he did. But I think you put him up after you call Kendrick. You don't need Jessup at all. You just call Kendrick, because it doesn't matter what Jessup said or not. Like, it doesn't matter if the colonel ordered it, because I'm sure Kendricks didn't come to Dawson and say, Colonel Jessup wants you to give a code red, right? He doesn't have to.
Yeah. Well, why did Kaffee need to even call Kendrick? Wouldn't Kendrick have been called as as a rebuttal witness to Dawson? So they present their case, you know, the defense starts, they put up Dawson, he says Kendrick ordered the code red. I mean, did, you know, Jack Ross, the prosecution, did they call Kendrick? And if they did, why would they call Kendrick just to say he prove the absence of something? At that point, they hadn't even established that a code red was ordered.
See, I think the defense calls Kendrick for a good reason, right? Because they're showing why Dawson had to follow the order, because the last time he didn't follow a code red order, he got in trouble for it. So this time he wasn't going to do that. I just think the way that Kaffee did it, he just did it. He didn't do it the proper way. He should have just asked him, do you know Lieutenant Dawson? Do you know Private Dawson? Yes, I do. How is he as a soldier? You know what I mean? Get his opinion on that. Then show him his report, right? This report you wrote on him, right? Why did he get this low rating this one time? Because whatever explanation he gives, do you know a PFC, what's his name, Bell? Curtis Bell.
Bell, yeah.
All right, was he ever punished for anything? Yes. What was he punished for? Stealing something. What was the punishment? This. Did anybody give him food? Yes. Who? Dawson did. Oh, really? What happened to Dawson when he did that? He got in trouble for it. Really?
Yeah.
So what was he getting in trouble for? Disobeying an order. Oh, so what happens to disobey an order, right? Build that up, and then when you put Dawson on the stand, it doesn't even matter what Kendrick says then about the code red. He's never going to admit to it, right? Yeah. You can ask him, did you order the code red? No. I wouldn't even ask that question because he's going to say no.
You know what is one thing, too, is that I'm assuming they had like an actual lawyer on this show, like providing some sort of consultation for some of it. So, or the movie. And so Kendrick testifies. Kaffee, he never asked him about the meeting with Dawson. Like, why didn't Kendrick say, you met with Dawson and Downey and you met with Dawson and Downey and you told them not to give a code red. Yeah. Did you go back to Dawson's room? He'll either say yes or no, right? And if he says yes, then they say, was Downey there? No. So, like, Downey would have never perjured himself. Because,
exactly.
like, who was present at this... It would have already been clear who was present at this meeting, and he would have been like, Downey wasn't there. And, you know, it doesn't make sense either. He went in, and he told everyone not to give a code red. 5 minutes after, he tells everybody at this one time, don't give him a code red, right? Everybody at the same time, don't give him a code red, right? And then 5 minutes after, he goes to Dawson's room and he tells him, give him a code red. Somehow, within those 5 minutes, Downey supposedly got like 45 minutes away, right? Because that's why. That's why he wasn't in the room, because they were on a run or they were driving somewhere and they got a flat and they had to huff.
So Dawson never heard anything. Dawson never heard him say, "Don't give a code red." He never heard him say, "Give a code red."
Yeah,
he just arrived.
He was just running around. Yeah.
And why does he give the order? Why does he give this order not to touch him if everybody in the unit isn't even present?
Yeah. So,
what was the point?
Yeah, he would have waited till or they would have been like, you gave this order not to touch everyone, where it was Downey. He was on a run with somebody else. Well, why didn't you wait till everyone was back? You know?
Yeah, and that's a good point. Why didn't you wait till everybody was there if it was so important for you to tell everybody not to touch him?
And if Downey was at the meeting with everybody, well, then he wouldn't have been 45 minutes away for 5 minutes after at that other meeting. Like they didn't. The
question remains: why did they give that order for him not to be touched? I mean, this guy's been bad forever. Has he ever been given a code red before? No.
Yeah.
Did they? He wrote a letter explaining all his problems. He never said in the letter that he was mad about getting all these code reds. Like, these guys keep code redding me. My hair is falling out. They're giving me these crazy rough baths. So what was the purpose of him going to everybody and saying, "Don't touch him"? They're all saying, "Yo, Lieutenant, we've never touched him. We don't give him code reds. Dawson won't let us. We want to, but he won't let us." Well, I'm doubling down on what Dawson said. Don't give him a code red. 5 minutes later, goes to Dawson. Hey, Dawson, I know you don't think we should give this guy a code red. The last time I gave somebody a code red, you violated it. So you're the perfect guy to give the guy who snitched on you a code red, okay? You can do it now, or you can wait till Downey gets back and bring him along with you. Got it? He's like, yep, got it. That makes no sense.
It makes no sense why Downey would have followed it. Because if he didn't follow it, and he was like, you know what? The old man is wrong. And they were like, yo, you obeyed a direct order. He's like, what direct order? You told me in front of 100 other witnesses not to give it.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. You just obeyed direct order. What direct order? Here's the thing, right? This is what's so crazy about it. When he went in front of everybody and said, "Don't touch him," he takes away any power he has to punish Dawson if he doesn't listen to him. Because now everybody's like, what do you mean? Hold on. You told all of us not to touch him. How is this guy in trouble at all? Like, I don't understand this.
Yeah, if Dawson was subsequently like in the brig or something, they'd be like, what order did he disobey? And he would have to say, he disobeyed me giving a code red after I told him not to give a code red. Like, you know,
they're like, but you told all of us not to touch him. Why is he in trouble now? That made no sense.
Yeah, movie over. I mean, does anyone else is anybody else thinking this when they're writing it? They're just like, yo, we're on to something good here. Don't even think about it, just do it. You know?
Here's another thing, right? The military, they didn't want to hold anybody. They wanted somebody to be held accountable, but not, Colonel Jessup, right? The higher up it goes in terms of rank, the more of a stain it is on the military as a whole, right? So Dawson and Downey, they had to take the fall for this. So what the military did was they got the worst attorneys they could, right? Weinberg, he doesn't pay attention to anybody. He's very smart. He knows a lot of information, but he never knows how to apply it well, right? So he never goes to court. Galloway, she thinks she's special. She has a lot of accommodations, but she really doesn't really do anything, right? And Kaffee is just a clown, right? He is the class clown who just made it off the name of his father. He likes to play baseball, shows up late, never pays attention, and just please every case out. So they wanted Downey and Dawson to lose. They wanted them to lose. They got the worst three. Like, Jack Ross is a laughing stock of his office because he lost to these guys.
Because he lost to these guys. They were like, what? How did you lose this? I mean,
like, who loses to Kaffee, man? He takes deals on anything. He never goes to court. How did you lose, Jack? Jack's like, I don't know. I never objected.
Yeah, I never objected to anything. I just let him give closing arguments the entire time.
I think Jack Ross was so assured that he was going to win this case that he was like, let Kaffee do whatever you want. He's like the snail and the tortoise, the hare and the tortoise, right? He's taking naps. He's taking breaks. He's not even paying attention. He's on his phone the entire time. He's just texting. He's like, what time is the basketball game? I was killing you guys last night.
Hashtag at the trial. Hashtag these guys are going down. Yeah, he's terrible.
He's objecting under his breath, like, objection. Objection leading, but not really getting out loud. That was a joke, man.
It's a joke. Well, If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more, smash the gavel on that subscribe button and the like button. Double tap. Check out more of Legally Caffeinated. Try watching A Few Good Men now and not think these things.
And tell us if you agree, disagree, if you found any other mistakes, or if you think the mistakes you're pointing out aren't true and you can explain everything that we said was wrong and you can make sense of it, right? And like,
I can't.
If we ruined the movie for you, let us know. If we didn't, let us know. Smash that like button with the gavel, smash that subscribe button with the gavel, and comment everything you'd like about this video or hate about it.
And leave a comment if you want us to ruin another movie, because we plan on ruining them a lot.
Yeah, we got some in mind that we're really going to ruin.
Yeah, we like to bring people down. Yeah, nobody loves a disgruntled attorney more than Legally Caffeinated. But,
yeah,
all right.
I hate New Year's Day. I hate holidays. I hate birthdays. I don't see the point of them. Right, and I'm going to ruin all of them.
Yeah.
Lawyer,
So
right?
tune in if you want to be just as disgruntled as us. Thanks for watching.